So today is Friday the 14th of November. We are all here doing this evening chanting. Evening chanting to express our gratitude and veneration to the Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. There are so many things that in our life that takes place over the course of the time. Along the way we meet so many people, and along the way we do so many things, and on the journey we also learn bit by bit different things. So we are learning every single day. And among those experiences, we will remain only handful of them, handful of people, handful of activities that we have done, a handful of experiences that we remember. It is quite inevitable that we will forget many compared to amount of things that we have done. But sadly, although we do not remember them, somehow our consciousness takes these things into subconsciousness. It saves. When it saves to the subconsciousness, then somehow, somewhere, on some occasions, when something takes place or something stirs it up, and suddenly then we will remember, once upon a time I had this experience, once upon a time, I met this person, once upon a time, I was doing this and I was doing that. Then suddenly all those memories becomes so fresh. And with that experience of this fresh memory coming back into this present moment, now here, either you will take it into the negative or either you will take it into positive. And this is a common practice that normally we have. So when we take it negative, then it's like a horrible. Everything becomes horrible and everything becomes nasty, and you will be proliferating, making a story again on that to make it even worse. Sometimes that person, suppose we come back again, meet in this person, and then we remember those past memories, and then if we put it into context and manifesting into the stories, then towards the negative, then what happens that we will be telling all those bad memories, and also expecting or speculating that it will be the same again. Then that puts the barrier between ourselves and then them. Similarly to the incidents, any experiences, and suddenly we halt ourselves and then saying no. So we put our step back rather than coming to the front. The completely opposite to it, that if we enjoy and we feel pleasure of it, then suddenly you go back to those memories and you will be able, dedicating yourself fully onto that particular incident or even the person. That's why there are many stories that those who suppose the stories, particularly the Hollywood movies, love story movies. So it's a childhood, so-called the puppy love. But however, sometimes those puppy loves can be for a long engraved in their consciousness and left for many years, and somehow they come back, and then somewhere they met again and then clicked in. We had this puppy love in those days, and now it just sparked. And then with that, everything becomes a colorful, beautiful. You become a victim of your own emotions and feelings, and then you will be fantasizing the perfectness of having that incident or having that person around us. And that is normally the case. Often cause the troubles as well. So either way we go, there is a trouble. And this not either way, again, this is a common practice that we have. And we will be in that position pretty much of the time. Whereas the practice of a Buddhist meditation helps us to recognize that these things takes place. Whatever experiences that we experience it now, that experience brings oftentimes the memories from the past, which is subconsciously saved memories, then that comes in, and then with that arising of those stories, then we straight away put our perception to it based on what we have experienced, and then with that we create further on. Now we recognize that. I think we have to switch off one heating there. Can you switch off that one? It's getting hot. Like this morning it was warning there. Open the window like that. It's getting hot. Thank you. So practice of a meditation is basically helping us to recognize that whenever these things come, and how are we relating, and how are we manipulating or exaggerating or perceiving or trying to put it into the context. Basically conceptualizing it. So we see the process of entire how things are taking place. The moment when we see that, we have the clear understanding of the things, the experiences that we are experiencing at that very moment. Then that actually allows us to step back and look at it objectively rather than subjective. So whatever experiences that we come across due to our greed, hatred and delusion, we put it into two ways, either to the negative or unpleasantness, or a positive pleasantness, and that brings the miseries and causes the more further problems. Now, whereas when we practice meditation, we gradually see that whenever these things arises, how are we dealing with, and which phenomena we are reacting with, either the greed or hatred or delusion. And that's how we purify ourselves. We are purifying our mental state. Now, if we can purify our mind in that way, what happens that our physical action changes. Our speech also changes too. And that's simply because we have seen in its true nature, so-called a right understanding. And because of having a right understanding, our thinking becomes right, rather than greedy, rather than having resentments, or rather than the possessiveness. We will have a non-greed mental state. We will have a clarity of the things that we should not be hold on to, and able to let go, and seeing in that way, thinking in this way, these ways, obviously minimize the talk that we are going to speak. So we will be speaking what is necessary, beneficial, and timely, and as well as it won't harm anyone, either ourselves and to others. And that speech becomes noble speech. You're speaking with a kindness and compassion towards someone, rather than speaking with resentment or hate. Now, this is not just speaking, but also it also projects from the action. And this action, physical action, we won't be harming anybody. Rather, we will develop the loving kindness and compassion towards all sentient beings. Whenever somebody bullies, or whenever somebody does something, rather than get angry, we will develop this kindness and compassion, seeing that the person who is doing so ignorant, so incompetent, and doing that, they are actually creating another bad karma without knowing that they are creating a bad karma. So with that understanding, we generate more kindness and compassion towards that person. And understanding that any action that I am doing towards that person, that actually my action, which consequence I will be the responsible one, and that we will be the first person or first victim of that thinking. Whereas if we have a right understanding, then we will not be committing such way. And that's how living in that way brings the life in a much a noble life, noble living. We will not be committing any adulteries or any stealing from the physical, and then also with that we are creating a security for ourselves and then to others. We are always safe, and also people would like to communicate or feel comfortable being with us. And life becomes harmonious. And having that harmonious life, again, we develop more mindfulness and awareness in our life. We will put more effort to generate more beneficial, positive actions with the kindness, compassion, caring, sharing, so on. And those efforts will always keep us into the right path and the right mindfulness on the things that we do physically, verbally, and even mentally. So our contemplation becomes a noble contemplation on the path to the seeing things as they truly are, which is the base for the liberation. So that's why it's very important that we have a good understanding of the meditation, so that we can deal with any emotional things or emotions or feelings that arises in anywhere, any time, at any moment. We able to deal with that rather than swayed by this greed, hatred, and delusion into the likeness or dislike of pleasure or unpleasant. We observe it neutrally and taking step back and watching it objectively, the cause and the conditions and how this proliferates and how this conditioning and manifesting, and then understanding the result of those reactions. And after that, our actions become defunct. Any action that we are acting, that action becomes a neutral action which will not produce any results in the future, although there will be a short-term results in this moment. And what brings us is the real happiness, real calmness, real lightness in our hearts and our minds. So that's why the practice of a meditation is something that is not just the sitting in a cushion and feeling ecstasy or calmness and going into somewhere and feeling so good, but actually we should be able to take into our day-to-day life and bring much more happiness. So we are not attached to anything but being entertained by them. So we are here. We are doing this every single morning and night as officially or formally practicing these just to reinforce our day-to-day practices, so that we can gain a further understanding and come out from the miseries that we are dealing with that. So this is a reflection for tonight. We have just finished our evening chanting. Now this is a time for the meditation. First of all, we offer ourselves to the Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, as a refuge, and also for the security and the guidance. So relax yourself. Bringing your attention to the primary object and having a right intention. The right intention here, not harming yourself, being kind to yourself, and being truthful. And observing this peaceful moment. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. So with this in mind, spend some time contemplating on the breath coming in and going out. And when we say that contemplating on the breath, we're not talking about thinking of the breath. It should be a natural breath that coming in and going out. So, feeling of it. So when we feel the breath, first thing that we are observing is our own physical body that's sitting here and feeling this breath. So we feel this on our physical body parts, either in our nose or in our belly. So it's a gross level of seeing feelings in our body. And it is possible because of this feeling arises. So the breath is a vehicle. Feeling becomes the bridge between this body and the mind. Now with that, but while we are observing this breath, we feel the breath, feel it in our body, and that feeling connects with our mind. And this phenomena repeats again and again. And that's how, observing this breath alone, one single breath actually completes the 4 foundations of a mindfulness. When we see that, then we will have clear kindness for our own self, and then sharing it to others. And further on, we realize that this is not the reality. It is the condition created. It's going to change. And that is the main key here. Having mindfulness in every moment, but then emotionally not driven by any perceptions, but observing objectively, so that we are not swayed into the pleasure or pleasant, but realizing the reality pertaining to itself and keep the mind in a balance. And yet that balance, again, impermanent, understanding that. And we are fortunate to have the community here coming together and practicing, supporting, reinforcing, which the Buddha said that having Kalyanamitta, a good friend, is actually the completeness of a noble path. So having friends meditating like this together is a blessing. So with this in mind, continue practicing. You may practice at any stage, just to feel the breath, or settled on the breath, either settled in your nose or in your belly, or just become inquisitive, but not overjoyed or not overtaken by the greed, hatred and delusion. So with this in mind, continue practicing for some times.